All right, today we're diving into something pretty fascinating and, I gotta say, a little unusual. It's called the Exponential Enlightenment Founder's Manifesto. And right from the very first page, you can tell this is not your typical business plan or course outline. Nope, it's written as something much deeper. So the manifesto doesn't even call itself a document. It says it's a map of remembrance, a transmission. The whole idea is that it's putting out a certain frequency, trying to connect with people who already have that feeling, deep in their bones, that there's gotta be a different way to do things. So what in the world is exponential enlightenment? Well, the manifesto defines it as a path that weaves together things you normally see as total opposites. You've got inner peace with outer action, AI with intuition, and sacred healing with scalable systems. This idea of braiding things together, that's really the heart of this whole thing. Okay, so before we jump into the solution, the manifesto first has to lay out the core problem it's trying to solve, and it calls this the disconnection problem. The way it frames the problem is, well, it's pretty relatable. It points out that even though more and more people are getting into healing and finding their purpose, a lot of us feel completely stuck. Just overwhelmed by information, drowning in self-doubt. Sound familiar at all? And it also hones in on this really specific and honestly kind of painful paradox that affects so many healers, coaches, and artists. They find themselves spiritually rich but financially stressed. And that just highlights this huge gap between living a meaningful life and actually being able to support yourself doing it. The document then takes aim at the usual models for success that push us to hustle without rest and scale without grounding. It basically argues that these approaches are built to fail because they completely separate our ambition from our own well-being. So it all boils down to this one simple but really powerful diagnosis. The root issue isn't that we lack tools or talent. The core problem, according to this manifesto, is disconnection. Disconnection from our purpose, from our intuition, and from each other. So if disconnection is the big problem, what's the solution? Well, the manifesto proposes that we need a bridge, a way to connect the things our modern world has basically ripped apart. And this slide just captures that divide perfectly, right? On one side, you have the spiritual world, which, let's be honest, often avoids structure. And then on the other side, you've got the business world, which often avoids feeling. The whole goal here is to bring that structure and that soul together. And the goal isn't to just pick a side or find some mushy middle ground. It's to build what the manifesto calls a new model where healing, artistry, technology, and prosperity are not separate lanes, but part of one unified path. It's about creating a truly integrated way to move forward. So how does all this integration stuff actually become a real framework? Well, that brings us to the path of integration, which lays out the core pillars and the actual journey for anyone who wants to walk this path. The whole system is built on 5 big ideas, 5 foundational pillars. First up, you've got mindfulness, which is seen as the gateway to everything else. Then there's creative expression, with this awesome belief that your voice is literally a form of medicine. After that comes personalized guidance to help you tap into your own inner wisdom. The fourth is community connection, because healing together is way more powerful. And finally, economic empowerment, which reframes abundance not as something you chase, but as your birthright. But what's holding all of this together is this one core idea. This journey isn't about trying to become some new person. It's about remembering who you are, then creating from that place. And this leads to the central archetype of the whole path, the quantum creator. And that journey unfolds in 4 really clear stages. It starts with the seeker, the person who just feels that pull towards something more. Then you become the student, learning to really listen and connect with your intuition. Next up is the creator, when you actually start sharing your gifts with the world. And the final stage is the quantum leader, where you build systems to scale your impact and help the collective. It's a very tangible progression. All right, now we get to what is, I think, the most unique and maybe even controversial part of this manifesto. Its view on technology. It frames artificial intelligence not as some cold, scary machine, but as a sacred tool. The philosophy here is pretty wild. It says, technology is not separate from the sacred. It is the instrument through which awakening becomes scalable. So in this view, AI isn't a threat to our humanity. It's a potential amplifier for our consciousness. So how does that actually work? Well, the manifesto gives AI 3 specific jobs. First, it can be a mirror, reflecting our inner world and our subconscious patterns back to us. Second, it can act as a muse, helping us get unstuck by inspiring new ideas or images. And third, it's a multiplier, allowing us to scale our wisdom and our guidance to help thousands of people at once. And this quote, wow, this one really captures the deep intention behind the tech. We are not just coding features, we are coding frequencies. The idea is that the tools themselves are meant to be containers for consciousness, each one built with a specific energy and intention. And so the manifesto leaves us with this final, really provocative question, bringing this huge idea right back down to us. If AI could serve as a mirror to your soul, what would you ask it to reflect? That's a powerful thought to end on, and it perfectly sums up this call to merge our deepest inner work with our most powerful outer tools.